The government doesn't want you to know about what we're going to be talking about today. And to be honest, it looks like the government doesn't want you to know about a lot of things. Much like what we saw during the health crisis, the players remain the same. The Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, or the CDC, together with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, they tried to block research that would show Americans the truth. And that truth is that fluoride may actually be bad for us. To some extent, maybe even poisonous. Now, I understand that this is very hard to believe, but the studies have been done to prove that something very wrong is going on here. Now, before I get into this and really break this down for you guys, all I ask is that you take a second, drop a quick like for the video. Totally appreciate that. And I want to thank you guys for always sharing these videos. It totally helps out the channel a ton. So to move forward, we have to look back. So let's discuss how this all came about. Around 2/3 of US public drinking water is fluoridated. The reasoning from around 50 years ago was that adding fluoride to our water would help reduce cavities in children's teeth. The idea was that low doses of it was safe for public consumption. But what many may not know was that the high doses of fluoride was essential in the production of the atomic bomb. Millions of tons of this stuff was needed to manufacture bomb-grade uranium and plutonium for nuclear weapons throughout the Cold War. Now, fluoride is a critical industrial chemical that's used by major industries. However, it can't just be thrown anywhere, so we were made to believe that it was safe to be included in drinking water.
Union County commissioners were divided 3-2 on the motion to remove fluoride from the public water supply. The dozen speakers who talked about that issue Monday night reflected that divide.
Some dentists, the CDC, the media, they've invested too much into this titanic lie to admit they're wrong.
A lot of the parents do not want fluoride, and I respect their beliefs. I try to educate them on the benefits of fluoride, but I don't shove fluoride down anyone's throat.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention report about 2/3 of Americans have sodium fluoride added in their drinking water. Union County has had it for more than 50 years. CDC researchers say evidence consistently points to one possible negative health impact: dental fluorosis. Small white spots can appear in tooth enamel if people have too much fluoride.
I'm here to tell you why I believe water fluoridation is the biggest public health scam of the 20th century.
This trend is not just here in Union County, it's sort of an attack on science throughout the country.
Union County commissioners voted against using the additive Monday night. They say the decision is not based on whether fluoride is good or bad for people.
We can sit here, we can debate the science till the cows come home. Let's embrace freedom of choice and let people who wish to use fluoride do just that.
Fluoride is actually used in many different products that range anywhere from aluminum to pesticides. Some doctors believe that this information was buried by design, that they didn't want the American people to understand just how dangerous this was to us and to our children. In fact, one doctor, Dr. Phyllis Mullinex, was surprised to discover that there were no studies about the effects of fluoride to the brain. She applied for a grant to continue her research, but lo and behold, the U.S. National Institutes of Health, or the NIH, rejected her request, saying that fluoride does not have central nervous system effects. And here's where things get really interesting. Declassified documents of the U.S. Atomic Bomb Program, they don't agree with what the NIH said. In a memo from the Manhattan Project, it says that clinical evidence suggests that uranium hexafluoride may have a rather marked central nervous system effect. It seems most likely that the F component rather than the T is the causative factor. Now, as you may have guessed, the F component is fluoride. Now, this coincides with Dr. Mullinex's studies that fluoride is in fact harmful to our central nervous system, even if taken in small doses. Now, you have to remember that we're drinking this water. And not just that, even children are exposed to this water, which is why when a report that linked fluoride to lowering IQ in children was being worked on, the CDC just had to intervene. The NTP, or the National Toxicology Program, released a report early last year that linked prenatal and childhood fluoride exposure to reduced IQ in children. The statement alone is damning enough, and that's why the government wanted it locked behind closed doors. The problem for them is that a court order that came from a lawsuit forced the report to be released. The lawsuit was filed by the Food and Water Watch, an NGO that went against the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, or the EPA. A 6-month review was done to assess the scientific studies on fluoride exposure and potential neurodevelopmental and cognitive health effects in humans. So the NTP removed the part where fluoride was considered as hazardous. However, the report still showed that there's a consistent inverse association between fluoride exposure and children's IQ. This meant that the substance was clearly not safe for consumption and was actually affecting the intelligence of our children. children. This is made worse when you realize that the NTP is actually an interagency program that's run by the HHS. So the report is said to have had a role in a lawsuit that started back in 2016 or 2017. Several nonprofits took the EPA to court in order to end fluoridation of drinking water. The trial began back in 2020. However, this was the C-19 era, so that probably slowed things down a bit. So the NTP review still isn't done, and it's something that the judge is actually waiting on before ruling on the case. So here's something that also caught my eye. The American Dental Association publicly pressured the NTP to not include any neurotoxin claims from the reports. Now you gotta wonder why, right? And if we go by the numbers, it only makes it worse for these groups. The report isn't done, but some data has already been released about it. In it, it says that 8 out of 9 high-quality studies examining cognitive or neurodevelopmental outcomes reported associations with fluoride exposure. There were 19 high-quality studies that assessed the association between fluoride and IQ in children, and 18 of them reported an association between higher fluoride exposure and lower IQ in children. Now, in terms of low-quality studies, 46 out of 53 of them show the same thing. The risk for people are different though, and it's been said that those who are at most risk are pregnant women and bottle-fed babies. Some analysts said that it would be to the government's advantage if the next generation of Americans were not as smart. However, this can also be classified as a nut job conspiracy theory, and it's something that many government agencies here in the country will not be all that happy about. Did you know that the CDC tagged community water fluoridation as one of the 10 greatest public health achievements of the 20th century? So back in 2015, the CDC was proud to propagate the safety and benefits of drinking water with fluoride. Now imagine if they had to tell us that the safe mineral that they've been touting all these years turns out to be harmful for us. The media frenzy will be at a level like we've never seen before. The CDC, the NTP, the EPA, even the World Health Organization would be flooded with lawsuits. They've been saying the same message for almost a century now. This means that generation after generation of families could potentially open up class action lawsuits to confirm just what the heck people have been drinking all these years. Because people need to know what's really going on. But the sad part is that it's not getting as much attention in mainstream media. Some lawmakers, though, they're starting to realize the truth. Nebraska State Senator Ben Hansen, he wants more of his constituents to be allowed to decide on water fluoridation across the state after a mandate after 2008 allowed cities to opt out of it. Legislative Bill 1387 was introduced by Hansen, and it would effectively set up a vote on whether communities should fluoridate their water supply. The senator and out-of-state dentists questioned the safety of water fluoridation. However, local dentists and even the state's chief medical officer said that the practice has to be continued given the provided health benefits of the mineral. Hansen also argued that citizens should have a right to decide what they ingest, especially if it's something that's added to a local water. Now, I guess that's the question that many have on their minds right now. Should Americans across the nation be provided with this information? And on that point, should we be allowed to decide for ourselves what we want to do? As far as I know, I'll continue to keep you guys informed on any development regarding this issue, especially since it directly impacts our lives. Now, before I go, I just want to thank you guys so much for your time. Keep safe, and I'll see you on the next video.